Hi. Now let's demystify the midpoint of a line. We had earlier looked at distance between 2 points, and now let's look at the midpoint of a line. So how do we find the midpoint of a line joining 2 points? So I'll just derive the formula for doing that. So we'd have let's say we have a Cartesian plane. Okay, so we have our y-axis, and then we have our x-axis. So let's pick 2 points. Let's pick this point right here and call it point A, and let the coordinate of point A be x1 and y1. Let's pick another point. Let's see this point, and let's call it point B, and let the coordinate of point B, let the abscissa be x2 and the ordinate be, let me link this first, be y2. Okay, y2. Okay, now of course the coordinate of A would now be x1 y1, while that of B will be x2 y2. Okay, so we're interested in the midpoint of a line joining these 2 points, so I'll just link them up. So I have this from here to here, and then of course our midpoint should be around here. Remember, this is not drawn to scale, I'm just picking any random point. So let's say this is a midpoint of a line joining A to B. All right, so we're going to call it M, but let's link this up first of all. So let's call the ordinate y, and let the abscissa for the midpoint, let the abscissa be x. Okay, so that the midpoint M can be written as, so the coordinates can be x, y. Okay, so that's the midpoint that we're interested in. All right, so I'll just make some connections. So let's connect this point from here to here, and then I'd like to call it point C. Okay, all right, we're really not interested in the coordinates of point C, so I'll just leave it that way. And then let me make another connection. From here to here, I'll have to move that back down. So let's move it a moment. Let's see. Okay, so let's move this point down here. Okay, so now we have the points, we have everything we need to get the midpoint of a line. So how do we now get the formula for finding the midpoint of a line? Now you'll agree with me that from here to here is x minus x1. Okay, this is x1. So we have x minus x1, and then from here to here, that's from here to here, will be x2 minus x. Okay, so similarly for the y-axis, we have from here to here will be y minus y1. So y minus y1. And then from here to here will be y2 minus y, y2 minus y. Okay, So now, since from here to here and this point to this point are equal, I'll just equate it, and that would help me get the abscissa, okay, for the midpoint. So I'd have that x. I'll just rewrite that. So you're trying to get used to this part. So I have x minus x1 will be equal to, that's this will be equal to this, will be equal to x2 minus x. Okay, and then this will be, I'll take like terms, so I have x minus, sorry, x plus x, and it comes over, and then this will be equal to x2, this goes over, plus x1. Okay, so I have here 2x will be equal to, I'll just rewrite this as x1 plus x2, the same thing. So we'll divide both sides by 2, would have x will be equal to x1 plus x2 over 2. Okay, and then we'll do the same thing for the y-axis. So distance from here to here, is equal to distance from here to here. Okay, so I can just pick any point. So I can start with, say, y minus y1 is equal to y2 minus y. Again, I'll take this over. So I have y plus y will be equal to y2 plus y1. Okay, and then I have, this will be 2y. 2y will be equal to, I'll rewrite this as y1 plus y2. Now let's divide both sides by 2. Would have y will be equal to y1 plus y2 over 2. Okay, so this value x gives us the abscissa value for the midpoint, and this here gives us that for the ordinate. Okay, so it then just means that the midpoint of a line joining A to B, the midpoint of a line joining A to B, yeah, I'm trying to get this right. Okay, will be equal to x1 plus x2 over 2 and y1 plus y2 over 2. Okay, so this is the formula you can use in finding the distance, or rather the midpoint of a line joining 2 points. Okay, so let's put this formula to use. Let's take an example. So this is a question from UTME. It says find the midpoint of S with this coordinate and T with this coordinate. So we just quickly use the formula. So I like to call this the midpoint of ST will be equal to, let's write out the formula we derived. So we have x1 plus x2 over 2, y1 plus y2 over 2. Okay, so we have it now, just like we did when we're working on distance between 2 points. It's always good to label those points so you don't get them mixed up. So x1 y1 and x2 y2 as our second point. Okay, so we just slot in these values here into this. So we have x1 is minus 5 plus x2 is minus 3. So I'll do it this way, all over 2. y1 is 4 plus y2 is minus 2, and that will be over 2. Okay, so now we have it that minus 5 plus minus 3, that's plus times minus is minus, so minus 5 minus 3 will give us minus 8 over 2. And then here we have 4 plus times minus is minus, so 4 minus 2 is 2, so I have 2 over 2. Okay, so it means that our midpoint will be minus 4, minus 4, and 1. Okay, so the midpoint of a line, of the line joining S to T, their midpoint will have this coordinate, and that would be option B. That would be option B. Okay, minus 4, 1. All right, now let's look at another example. Let's look at another example. All right, now look at this question. It says if M with this coordinate is the midpoint of the line joining L and N, find the values of P and Q. So you can clearly see that there are lots of missing values here for either the abscissa or the ordinates. So how do we find these values? Now we use the same formula. So we have remember the midpoint formula. Let me call the midpoint of a line joining L to M. Let me call it MLN. And then we'll write our formula, which says that x1 plus x2 over 2 and y1 plus y2 over 2. Okay, all right, so this is the formula. Now we've been given the midpoint in this form, which is this, so I'll write it here. So this is the midpoint for Q. Okay, for Q. All right, and then we have, again, it would be nice to just label these points x1, y1, x2, y2. Okay, so you don't get them mixed up. So x1 is P plus x2 is Q over 2, and y1 is minus 2 plus y2 is P over 2. Okay, now what this simply means, if you remember the previous question we solved, this value, whatever you solve here, gives you this, the abscissa here, and this gives you this. So more like saying this corresponds to this value and this corresponds to this value. Okay, so it simply means that this value is equal to this, so we'll just write P plus Q over 2 is equal to 4. Okay, now I cross multiply this, I'll have that P plus Q will be equal to 8. Now I'm going to call this equation 1. Okay, and similarly I have that this will be equal to this, so I have that minus 2 plus P over 2 will be equal to Q. Okay, take this up here. Now again, I'll multiply this with this, so I'll be left with minus 2 plus P will be equal to 2Q. Now let's rearrange this to look like this, so P, P, and Q, Q. So I'll have a P minus when it comes over. So when this comes over, it becomes minus 2Q equal to, and this goes over, it becomes 2. Okay, so we can call this equation 2. All right, now I'll just bring the two equations together. So I have a P plus Q equal to 8. That's the equation 1. And P minus Q, P minus 2Q rather, is equal to 2. And that would be equation 2. Okay, so let's just use elimination method for this. So would eliminate this using minus. So P minus P gone. So Q minus minus 2Q. That's Q plus 2Q, and that will give us 3Q is equal to 8 minus 2, and that's 6. Dividing both sides by 3, Q will give us 2. Okay, now we have Q. We'll just substitute it into any of the equations. So let's use this. So we have that P plus Q, which is now 2, will be equal to 8. And therefore our P will be equal to 8 minus 2, which is equal to 6. So it means that our P is 6 and our Q is 2. And that will be option D. P is 6 and Q is 2. Okay. So if you have any questions on any confusing questions on midpoint, you could drop them in the comment section. So in our next video, in my next video, we'll be looking at so we're done with distance between 2 points. Now we're done with midpoint of a line. So we'll be looking at these two together: gradient of a line and angle of slope. And please do well to subscribe so you'd see when I post the next video on these other concepts. Thank you. Bye.